This is The Way You Lead, a show for the new era of leaders who are ready to rise. I'm Joshua Church, and every week we explore how to lead from the inside out with strength, heart, and authenticity. Through stories, strategies, and conversations with embodied leaders, you'll gain what you need to lead yourself and others in today's changing world. The way you lead matters, and now is the time to step up. I always like to start with a prayer.
Love it.
Yeah, gotta drop in, gotta set the vibe. You know what I'm talking about.
Usually I do it behind the scenes before I show up, and I'm like, oh, to do it together.
We're gonna do it again.
Nice.
It makes such a difference, honestly.
Huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
I feel, and that's part of the reason too. I've stopped doing podcasts virtually. I only do in person now. Because you can feel it. Yeah. It's like, it's a different level of drop in. And it's more fun because then you get to like,
for sure,
have the conversations around the edges and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So good. Welcome to the show. Welcome
Thank
to The Way You Lead. I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too.
This has been great. I'm trying to think the last time I saw you, maybe at Christina's event, the Oracle event last year. No, I've seen you before since then. Somewhere.
Probably at her birthday.
Her birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, briefly at her birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I think when I came for the Oracle event, might have been the first time I met you.
I met you. No, you came into town one other time.
No,
we had
you're right. It
dinner.
was before we went to dinner.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
At
right.
the Papagayo.
Yeah.
Great spot.
So
Those tacos. The Oaxaca tacos at Papagayo. Let me just tell you.
I'm hungry already.
Yeah, I love it. Well, all I'll say is that you have a certain magnetic energy about yourself that, like, I felt like we were friends pretty instantly. It was just like you're one of the good ones. You're one of my people.
No.
And I'm excited to be able to like sit down and have an actual drop-in conversation with you.
Me too. I feel like it's been in social settings.
Yeah.
That we haven't been one-on-one
Right.
drop-ins. So
Yes.
I'm excited.
That's one of my favorite parts about doing this podcast, honestly, is it gives me the opportunity to do that with people.
Yeah.
And then you can like really go deep with
Yeah.
people. So welcome. I've loved seeing your journey from afar. You're one of my favorite follows on social media, on Instagram. Love the last post you did on the Christ consciousness, which I want to talk about for sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
I
was, side note.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
Surprised by what?
One, that came out of nowhere. I was sitting on my patio one day and was like, "Bloop." And then I waited 2 days and posted it, and just how many people shared it, saved it. Like it really landed with people. So that it just kind of tells me that, okay, like I'm tuning into this really big collective theme and wave right now.
Okay, tell us more about what was that? What was the post like? And let's talk about that wave.
Yeah. So
yeah, grab your tea.
the post was about just Christ consciousness and that it's not necessarily Jesus reincarnating or this resurgence of people going back to church or Christianity, which P.S. I understand.
Yeah, and it's happening, which is beautiful.
It is happening, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people associate Christ with Christianity.
Right.
And my understanding of it from an energetic and frequency perspective, because energy is my first language, that's just what makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm super clairvoyant and a feeler, and that's easier for me than words sometimes.
Yep.
And this Christ consciousness, as I experience it, is divine love. And that's what Jesus taught. It wasn't this God outside of you. It's this God within you. Everything I can do, you can do as well. I don't know the exact Bible quotes. So
yeah, but that was the gist of his message.
And more.
Yeah.
You can do everything I do and more. And I think it's been really present for me recently as I write my first book.
Ooh, let's go.
Ooh, it's edgy.
Hey, oh.
It's edgy.
Do we get a little sneak peek, a little thesis on it or what?
Yeah. I'm still kind of figuring out how to put words to it, but it's kind of the story of my intuitive my psychic awakening and then my erotic awakening, because that's kind of the two bookends of my body of work is intuitive intelligence and erotic intelligence as these two higher order intelligences that are largely suppressed in the population, and that is where our God self can really embody. And so as I write this book and I tell all these stories, and I'm seeing how Christ consciousness has woven itself through my life and revealed itself in the places that we've been told not to look. Outside of church, in the darkness, in the bedroom, in your shadows, in all of these places. And I was just spontaneously inspired the other day, sitting on my little cottage patio in Laguna Beach sipping my coffee, and I just pulled out my camera and started talking about Christ consciousness. And I was like, it's here now. It's here now. And I think a lot of people, especially people like us that are on a growth journey, on a spiritual journey, who are here on a mission, on a purpose, you know, we've been in really big transitions over the past couple of years. And the way that I see it for myself, which is typically what it is for the collective, is that this Christ consciousness is coming more into our bodies. It's finding all of the places that it still can't fully reach. So these emotions are coming up, or we're having to shed, you know, build a big business and then it goes away,
right,
or open these big revenue streams and then shut it all down, which I did. You know, relationships, there's this shedding of identity, of material things, of possessions, of accomplishments, and anything that isn't fully in alignment with your authentic truth. And this Christ consciousness is coming in to penetrate those areas so we can embody more of our God selves. And that message just landed with people.
Yeah. I'm picking up on that as well, on the collective consciousness right now in the conversations that I'm having. It feels like, and I want to explore this topic with you, that there's this, you know, there's this new age spirituality, right? And then there's religion, there's God. Even the word God can be supercharged for people as well. But like, maybe we start with just like your journey within all of that. Like, what's your, like, what are your beliefs? Like, are you religious, spiritual? Like, how do you make sense of the coagulation of all of these concepts?
Great question. I was raised religious, raised Christian. My parents are divorced, so my mom was Catholic and more just the tradition of it.
Okay.
My dad read the Bible every morning, went to church, went to Presbyterian church with him, and Catholic church bored the hell out of me. I have a twin sister, and we would giggle in the pew, and my mom would get mad, and then we would make her laugh, and then she'd be even more mad. It was just like gaggle of girls. But with my dad in Presbyterian church, I really felt the message. It felt like a motivational speech with God at the center. And I always felt a connection to a higher power. And I just learned that was God. And then in college, my dark night of the soul was an eating disorder. And that was my rock bottom that really sparked my spiritual awakening. And I write about this in the book in depth. And again, it's edgy. ED is what I called the eating disorder. My therapist helped me to define ED as like this persona within my brain that was like a toxic relationship. And as I started to break up with this toxic relationship in my own psyche, I started questioning everything, including religion. And I was like, what the fuck is the difference between a church father telling me like, obey God or you're going to go to hell? How's that any different than my parents saying Santa's always watching, do what we say or you won't get presents? How is that any different than ED, this eating disorder, saying throw up your food and then you'll be lovable? All of it felt like manipulation. All of it felt distorted. And so I threw the baby out with the bathwater. I stopped using the word God. I stopped all of it, but was very spiritual. And soon after that, all of my intuitive abilities flipped back online after suppressing them as a child. And, you know, so my relationship with, I now use the word God again.
Did you use the universe or source?
I used
or what?
universe. I used universe for a long time, then kind of switched to source or the divine. I still say the divine a lot. And now I also use the word God.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But I had to differentiate from the branded God to the frequency of God.
Ooh, that's good.
And it's when I found the frequency of God and could feel that as divinity, I felt free and true using the word again.
Ooh, that's really good. What do you think? It feels like there's a lot of trauma, I would even say, around the word God.
Oh, yeah.
And so what do you think, like, what advice do you have to someone who may be wrestling with that?
You know, early on in my like spiritual mentorship days, when I was taking clients and they were coming into their gifts, I taught a lot of intuitive development and spiritual awakening. I got a good number of people that wanted to work with me. And then their religious trauma would come up. We're like, you know, I can't tell my mom that, I can't tell my mom about this. And the church says this, and this is of the devil, or this is a sin, or this is wrong. And at that time, I was just like, listen, you need to do what's right for you. Here's my take on it. over time that hadn't happened as much. But as I see this resurgence of going back to church, which I get, we need community.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
to all come together as one in something greater than ourselves, connect to this higher power. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I think for anyone wrestling with it, it's like you have to redefine it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think as long as you've sourced your relationship with the divine outside of you, you're going to come head to head, face to face with what that is. Because in that way, you've given your power away to something outside of you, whether it's a church or religion or a spiritual teacher
Right.
or a guru, it doesn't really matter. And I think the work lies in looking where you've externalized the divine or God and bring it right back inside and say, where is that within myself? What is my relationship with a higher power, with the divine, outside of what I've been told, what I've been taught, what feels true to me? Because truth is a frequency. It's felt in the body. And that's where discernment comes in. And as you learn to feel truth in your body, that's where you can discern, and that's where you can find that connection within yourself. And it doesn't have to look like anybody else's connection.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I like how you said earlier as well of connecting with the frequency of God. What's that God frequency? And that's an internal job, right? Of like, what is that within myself for me? And then it changes that. And I had a similar interaction in college. I grew up Jewish, and then was raised Jewish, had bar mitzvah, we did Shabbat dinners, the whole thing. Really culturally Jewish and religiously Jewish from the teachings from my mom and from my dad. And she kept a kosher household, all those things. But then I get to college and it's just like, all right, cool. As I started getting down into this spirituality journey, it felt like, oh, like if spirituality and connectedness and oneness and love and light is this direction, like an old antiquated religion talking about God in this way is completely other direction. Like that's a fork in the road. So I like left religion behind until I met a rabbi who was the Chabad rabbi on campus and at the school in Ohio that I went to. Shout out to Rabbi Yossi. And he could tell that I was like on this path of growth and searching. And he was like, he said to me, he's like, the God that the God that you are struggling to believe in, like, I don't believe in him either. Like, and I love that so much. Like the God that you believe in, I don't believe in either.
What a permission slip.
So true, right? And he was like, everything you think you know about Judaism or religion is like 1 + 1 = 2 elementary school. Like if you want, I'll show you how we're doing long division over here and show you the depths. And I was like, okay, I'm curious. Like you piqued my interest. So I started learning with him. I started realizing like, oh, wow, this is so true. And all of these things, all of these concepts, it's like, they're just repackaged from, we talked about that earlier. It's like, it's all just repackaged and saying the same thing in different ways. But there was something powerful about going back to like the source of it, of like the first text that existed in our humanity that all of these truths come from. And I felt a deeper connection and realized at that point that like, it's not a separate direction. They're roots of the same tree and branches of the same tree. And the word that helped me, I used to say universe for a while. Until I realized that actually the universe is a creation and an expression of God. Like there's a source beyond that. And then I was like, well, the universe now feels like it falls short.
Yeah.
And the word that I love using is Hashem. I don't know if you know the word Hashem. Hashem means the name in Hebrew. And there's 72 names for God in Hebrew. Hashem means the name. And it's like the name. It's like we can't even name it, this energy, this source. It's more like universe than anything else. But Hashem is like the name. So we can't even name this mysterious power, the divine. And so that helps me too. I say Hashem a lot. It's like the name of the source, which helped kind of separate. We realized like, oh, even when we're talking about God, it's like not God. And I started viewing my relationship with God from that internal standpoint and that frequency. And then it like, oh yeah, now I'll use that word. And I find also that a lot of people appreciate that word now, and it's like kind of makes you a magnet to the right types of people also that bring you in. But Hashem, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the question I have for you is, you mentioned earlier as we started the podcast here, you have your spiritual gifts started coming online as you were going down this. So like you are an intuitive, you're a channel. Tell me more about that.
Yeah. So I'm super clairvoyant.
Okay.
I mean, all of them,
Yep.
but specifically since childhood.
Okay.
could feel everything,
Mm.
knew things I had no way of knowing, and saw
Clairvoyant is
things.
seeing, right? So
Clairvoyant is
it's seeing a
seeing.
vision of something.
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember, so it was in my 20s that everything started coming back online, and this one memory kept popping up. And I'm like, why is this popping up? And I was maybe 5 or 6 at my grandma's house in Oregon playing hide and seek with the cousins at a big holiday party. And I was hiding in the closet, and a little boy got really close to me, and I got uncomfortable, and I just left, and I was like, I don't want to play anymore. And I went and found my dad, and I just wanted
Mm.
to be held.
Mm.
And this memory kept popping up. And I was at a spiritual retreat in Sedona with one of my first mentors back in the day. I was still a financial advisor at the time, which is hilarious to me. Man. And I was talking about this, and somebody was trying to help me like decode this experience. And she was like, well, who was it? And I was like, I don't know. She was like, well, did you see him again? And I was like, no. And she goes, was he a physical boy? And my mind
Whoa.
just, my jaw dropped.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy shit, no, it wasn't. And I didn't know the difference between seeing a spirit boy or a physical boy. It was just as real as
Wow.
you
Wow.
know? And I felt him, and I was so uncomfortable. And so I realized that memory was surfacing because this was when all of that was popping back online. And it was that event that caused me to shut it down.
Oh, interesting.
Because it scared me. I didn't have
Yeah,
words for it. I
right.
didn't get it.
That
But
probably happens to a lot of people.
so many people.
Yeah, and then they shut it down and they don't go back to reopen it.
Shut it down. Yeah. And you know, as a mentor for many years,
Yeah.
I worked with a lot of executives and entrepreneurs, and because I came from the business world,
Right.
so they liked that I could speak both languages. And it were these high power, mainly women,
Yeah.
who were, their intuitive abilities were coming online, and they're terrified of it. And I was
Yeah.
like, I get it, been there,
Yeah.
got it.
So how did you open that back up? Like, what was that process like for you?
You know, all of this was before spirituality was trendy. I there weren't crystals on Instagram, at least
Yeah.
not that I knew of.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I mean, I'm 38 now. I was in my
Yeah.
early 20s at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was a different wave of
Right,
awakening.
right.
And so I just synchronistically would attract mentors to help me tune into my abilities.
Yeah.
I remember candle gazing at night, and it was very scary, but I had to face like
Yeah.
what I would see.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just had to confront the fear and find that light of God within me, the light of the creator, the light of my consciousness, the light of truth and love. And within that, I could see any darkness, anything scary, anything, and know that it had zero power over me whatsoever. Wow. And it was really a divine intervention that led to all of this happening and leaving finance. I was at a yoga festival and sitting in a meditation circle, and I was practicing energy healing behind closed doors just because it was all coming online. I was like, my hands do things, you know, I don't know.
Something's happening.
I felt like a baby wizard. Like, I have powers. What do I do with them? You know, shooting lightning bolts around the room. Like, oh my God. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And somebody sat down next to me, and I kind of welcomed them in, didn't touch him. And he shot back and said, what was that? And I sat on my hands. I was embarrassed. I was like, what do you mean? And the girl next to him was like, no, I felt that too. You're obviously a very powerful energy worker. Take this as a sign. If you're not doing this, like, you've got to do this. You have a gift. And a stranger sat down in front of me expecting energy work and an intuitive reading. And I did, and they cried in my arms and said, this changed my life.
Wow.
They got up, someone else sat down, cried in my arms, said, this changed my life. I look up, there's a line of people at a public festival that waited in line for over an hour, just word of mouth, like, energy, chakra, I don't know, like, can I do it? And I was like, yeah. And I did it for hours on end.
Whoa.
And at the end of the day, literally threw my hands in the air and was like, okay, I will do this.
Yeah.
And I started taking clients on the side, still working in finance.
So you're still working in finance, yeah.
And then within, I don't remember, maybe a year or so, I was leaving finance, doing this full time. And that led to, you know, coaching and digital courses and masterminds. And really through that, channeling this body of work that bridges intuition, sexuality, and the quantum field. And it's been a wild fucking ride. Wow. It was like 2020 specifically the quantum lens just opened up.
Wow.
I could see it. And I was like Einstein. I was in my apartment at the time in Austin. I had papers all over the walls, different colored markers. And I'm like, the positive and negative and the masculine and feminine and the how it comes together and how creation happens. And, I was like, it was so overwhelming.
It's like that meme of, what's his name from The Hangover, where it's like doing the math as he's doing the blackjack. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I felt like a crazy person, but also it was so true.
Right.
And so I've been in a big pivot the last couple of years. I shut down all of my moneymakers, my digital courses, my masterminds, my everything.
Really?
It'll be 2 years ago in August.
Okay.
I just got burnt out. And I knew that the next phase of my mission and career was different, but it wasn't going to land until I let the rest go. And I thought it was going to be a 1 month hiatus. That turned into a year-long hiatus.
Wow.
And then I moved from Austin to Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
And I'm still, I'm coming on almost a year here.
Yeah.
And it's still very much unfolding in, how I bring this to the world.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting. The call to get offline. Like, don't serve my medicine digitally. Now, I'll take clients when they reach out.
Sure.
I haven't advertised for that in probably almost 2 years.
Yeah.
But they reach out when they feel called. It's aligned. No one sees that publicly. They don't need to.
Yeah.
But it's all about being in aura with people and live events, live channeling events, and helping people access their intuitive intelligence and their erotic intelligence, which is your creation.
Yeah.
And connecting those two things is where most of the world is disconnected. It's suppressed. It's shamed. It's made taboo.
Yeah.
And that is our God self. It's the intuitive GPS system that tells you exactly where your soul is wanting to go against logic. And it's that relationship to creation and creator consciousness through your sexual energy.
Yeah. Okay. Let's unpack this a little bit.
Great.
So you said the bridge or the intersection between intuition, sexuality, and the quantum. Right? It's a hell of a bridge.
You're telling me. And for me, it makes so much sense.
Yeah,
and I'm like, wait, how?
Well, I mean, I feel like it's like, let's pick 3 triggering things to talk about and to connect bridges together, which I love. I'm very fascinated by. So like let's start with tell me more about the erotic sexuality and the sacredness of that and how you view it, how you teach it, work with it. Like, talk to me like I don't know anything about this.
Great. Thanks for starting there, because it's what I'm most passionate about right now.
Especially and as you get started, for someone who thinks like this is contrary to God and to all the things that we've just talked about.
It was contrary for me too.
Yeah.
Everything that I was taught was save it for marriage. And even socially, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're a prude if you don't. You're a slut if you do.
Right.
For men, it's you're respected the more women that you sleep with.
Right.
In this old
paradigm.
School paradigm. It's like it's embarrassing if you're a virgin. There's just so much convoluted meaning around it. And I've always been this is actually the opening of my book, is never in a million years did I think that my role in the world would be to talk about something so taboo, to share my own personal, intimate stories as a means of revealing the power and sacredness that is here. And I was called sexy since I was little, since before I knew what sex was. I was in dance. I was very in touch with my body.
Yeah.
I was very free in my body. I was very sensual. But the world doesn't really have context for sensuality outside of sex. And so since 7th grade, I was called sexy, and I felt weird.
Yeah.
I hadn't even gone through puberty yet. I'm like, I don't understand, but I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And looking back, it makes sense. I was connected to this life force within me that I freely let flow through my body in a way that the world taught us wasn't okay and was wrong or was dangerous for women is dangerous. If you're free in your body, and if men are going to think this, or they're going to do this,
Yeah.
And so I had to overcome a lot of that. I was sexually harassed in my job, the sales job, with men who had monstrous egos, where HR was like the equivalent of the head of the fraternity, like it didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so I just went through a lot of these things. And over time, through seeing clients as well, I realized that almost any issue someone brought to me, or the next level that they wanted to step into, I could trace most efficiently to looking at their relationship with their sexual energy. Because your relationship to your sexual energy is your relationship to your body. It's your relationship to creation, and therefore creator consciousness. It's your relation to safety in your body. How do you speak your truth? Do you feel comfortable saying no? What are your desires? What are your fantasies? Do you feel comfortable voicing that? It's such a direct gateway to the depths of your subconscious that are holding you back from creating the life you really want, whether it's in business or in the bedroom or with your family. And through seeing that with clients, and then channeling all of this and seeing like, whoa, this is how it works with the quantum field. Like, this is how creation actually happens.
Right.
Took me a while to integrate all that. I see it as the most sacred energy that you can harness. And honestly, for years, it's felt like both a blessing and a curse, because I have such a deep relationship with my own sexual energy, and I've harnessed it as a source of power that I can channel into business, relationships, creative projects, outside of the physical act of sex. It's just your life force energy fully flowing through your body.
Yep.
And as I've harnessed that for years, I've been largely single and celibate. Not by choice, but by standard, because I've harnessed this super sacred energy in such a way that it's just not even appealing to share that unless somebody has harnessed it to at least close to the same extent. Because that energy, like where your sexual energy is sourced in your body, is also where most of our trauma is stored. So again, that's why it's one of the quickest gateways to clear you out. And on the flip side of that, anyone you're engaging with sexually, even if it's not the physical act of sex, even if it's just erotically, energetically, a whole other topic. If they haven't cleared that out, if they haven't formed a clean relationship with that, you don't know what energy you're taking on, what you're engaging with, what you're enmeshing with. You can literally take on somebody's trauma into your own body, in their DNA. There's so much that's exchanged there that we're not taught. And once you start to tune into that within yourself, I'm like, wait, this is like pristine golden pool of life force elixir. Like, I don't want someone pouring their muddy water in it. This is pristine and delightful, and I can relish in it within my own body and within my own life. That's the only place that I'm okay being met there. So again, it's felt like a blessing and a curse, because a lot of people haven't yet discovered that within themselves. And that manifests in these symptoms of leaking your sexual energy or suppressing that sexual energy. And that, shows up in all these areas of your life as well.
Yeah. Wow. So beautifully said. Thank you for sharing. And I can't wait. I feel like the book is going to be big. I can't wait. I can't wait to read it and for this message to get out there. And thank you for talking about this and sharing about this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been scary. It's been really scary. And I've been really tested. Really tested.
I believe that.
And it makes me emotional. I think with the big mission, and especially talking about something that's so triggering and so taboo and also so fucking sacred.
Yeah.
And I want to say fucking sacred on purpose because it's fucking sacred. And that like primal fuck is sacred.
Yeah.
And even that's been like, no, that's wrong, or no, this, even the whole, I don't know about industry, but concept of like conscious kink and learning how to decode your desires and your sexual fantasies, and where does that stem from, and what is that, and how can you harness that into something pure and of the heart. You know, there's just so much here. And I have had so many experiences that have caused me to want to shut it down, put it in a box. Wait, that's not safe. I'll just talk about intuition instead. And let's just go here with soul purpose. And I do that and hit a dead end, and then try it again in a different way and hit a dead end. And it's like, no, I know.
You know. Yeah.
And I've known for years that this is my thing.
Yeah.
And I've had to build so much inner fortitude and strength and unravel all of my own limiting beliefs about like, oh, well, I'm going to be judged, or I'm going to be persecuted, or I'm going to be single forever because my man is going to see this and think something that it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's actually the opposite.
Totally.
So yeah, it's been a lot. So thank you for that feedback.
And I mean, by virtue of you aligning with that and speaking your truth in this way, like you are giving other people permission to do the same as well. And I think it's such a great message for any leader, any person out there, any creator out there. It's like, I had a similar realization, which is part of the reason why I've rebranded this podcast as well, but of like, there's the stuff that you can talk about and you talk about, and it's like, it's probably not landing for a certain reason. And then there's the stuff that's like a little scary to talk about, but you feel you need to talk about. And it sounds like that's what this is for you.
That's where the gold is.
That's where the gold is. So how have you, I mean, it's been not for the faint of heart. It's been challenging, it sounds like, to like really lean into that and talk about that. What else have you noticed as you've started to lean more into this? And how recent has this been since you've like really started to lean in and to claim this?
So it's funny. I really leaned in initially in 2021. I taught a sexual sovereignty workshop at Aubrey Marcus's Fit for Service. It was a absolute hit.
Nice.
And that led to teaching my course called Quantum Sex Codes. And I was talking about all of this super freely.
Yeah.
I was making the most money. I was having the most fun, the biggest transformations. And then I don't know what happened, but it kind of shifted. I started focusing more on the mastermind. So it was just more behind the scenes. I wasn't shouting much of anything from the rooftops in the same way.
Yeah.
And then I got burnt out and unplugged.
Yeah.
And keynote speaking kind of came into my world. And I went into that being like, sexual energy is a source of power. This is my message and I know it. And I was working with a company that is fantastic. They're phenomenal in the keynote speaking world for corporate speaking.
Cool.
And they're like, well, HR won't touch that with a 10-foot pole. So either find a different audience or shift your message. But they only know corporate world. That's their thing. So I tried to put myself in a box. And intuitive intelligence and for the business world and do all of that. And I felt so stifled. I felt so caged. During that time, I also had an experience with, how do I say, to keep it anonymous? I had an experience with somebody in the business world when I was at an industry event, and he was one of the most respected men in the room. And he overstepped boundaries. I thought he was one of my people. He really spoke the language, and he misinterpreted my energy as an invitation. And it was not that. And it was a scary experience for me. It was after hours at someone's house in the dark outside. I didn't know where it was. I thought I was going to something. It was a scary experience.
Yikes.
But I really held my power. And I was shocked afterwards. Because
how you set your boundaries and held your power.
I'll actually tell a little bit of detail because I think it's important. I'm outside. He was inebriated. Didn't know I was signing up for that either. I don't like alcohol. It scares me. I feel very uncomfortable around it. So I didn't know I was walking into that. And at one point, he in his mind, playfully. In my mind, it was scary. Like, held my hands over my head. And jokingly said something, I don't remember what. And something came over me. My power just, I felt it. And I looked him in the eyes. I said, you can't just take what you want. And his eyes shifted.
Whoa.
And it was like a sobering moment for him. And I saw his face change shape. Like, he shifted.
Yeah.
And like, let me down, and we sat down, and, you know, it just kind of stopped. But I didn't know how much that affected me for a long time. For like a year more. I mean, I'm just now coming out with more of this again. And so it really scared. It was like my biggest fear come true of it being misunderstood, overstepped, my power being dangerous.
Right. Especially with someone that you probably looked up to.
That I totally respected. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. I don't even remember what your initial question was.
Of when you started claiming that this is the message that I'm sharing. So it's like you've had these challenges, these like trials and tribulations along the way.
Well, and then most recently, I was in a speaking competition with Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I saw that. That was awesome.
Well, that's another wild ride. But I made top 7, so I spoke at MGM Grand.
Fantastic.
In front of 10,000 people.
Whoa.
Wild. But I walked off stage being like, fuck, that's not my message. And that was what helped me turn back.
Yeah. Fantastic.
To what I've known it's been all along. Because I spoke in front of Grant and Alana Cardone, and one of the Shark Tank judges was one of the judges. And I'm like, and a billionaire that I didn't realize until later, he speaks energy. And this whole, I'm like, they would have totally understood what I'm saying. Yeah. And it was it felt like regret. And that's not a feeling that I am very familiar with. But I needed that. Yeah. And as soon as I had that feeling, I dove right into writing the book. I'm telling all of these stories. Fantastic. I'm speaking about this again. I'm like, okay, that just like bust through whatever illusion was remaining. Like, this is the thing, and fuck it. I'm choking on it.
Yeah. It just makes me feel that you can't run away from your true purpose and your calling.
No.
You just can't. You'll keep getting brought right to it.
Slapped around.
Yeah.
Slapped around. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like how you were saying earlier about, like, it's often it's a taboo thing to talk about. It's one of the most triggering things to talk about, which probably means we should probably be talking about it. It's like, by virtue of that, we should probably be talking about it. But it's never taught how to talk about it. It's never taught the implications of things. Like, I think about sex ed class. If you had a sex ed class, they showed you how to put a condom on a banana. Like, that's the extent of sex ed class. And they talk about the anatomy of it. Like, nowhere is talked about the energetic exchange. Nowhere is talked about the implications. Nowhere is talked about how to have communication and conversation and clear boundaries. And maybe that's because you're too young to understand that. I don't know, but there's no real outlets to discuss or explore these conversations beyond certain, like, I feel like certain creators on Instagram or certain podcasts, stuff like that, which is really the only space I found.
Right.
So I think it's really important. And I like how you said that it's like you can tell very quickly based on how someone is embodied or not embodied, or to the level they're embodied within their own sexuality, their relationship with sex, with their confidence, with shame, with guilt, like with all of these things. It feels like it centers around that trauma. I mean, I don't know what the stats are on how many people have experienced sexual abuse, but I know it's very high. Yeah. And so it feels like it's this portal of all of these different things that we just put like the red tape on the door and say, we're not going here. Right.
And even a lot of the people who are actively talking about this, I think of like Layla Martin or Mama Gina, they're trailblazers in this. And I haven't taken their work, so I can't fully speak from experience, but I still largely, and Tantra or, conscious kink or whatever, I still feel like the conversation around energetics is largely missing. And so when I tell people, like, I work a lot with sexual energy, and they're like, oh, my friend is a sex coach and this type of thing. But it's still all around the physical act of sex. And I'm like, I came into my sexual power as a single celibate woman.
Wow.
until you learn how to harness that force in your own body, in your own life, how are you going to share it with somebody?
Yeah.
And if you're just entering that conversation from the physical level, you've already bypassed the whole spiritual and energetic and emotional realm that is the foundation of it all.
Yeah.
So although there are avenues that it is talked about, I think it still largely centers around the physical act. And I truly believe that you have to source that within and harness it within before you can consciously bring that to exchange it with a partner.
Yeah. It's so true. And where it often is talked about in the energetics is almost from the perverted other side of things, which is like the just almost the hedonistic of just like explore, like dive into pleasure, like we're made to have experience pleasure, like, you know, run naked, have sex, like which it takes kind of almost the antithesis of what you're talking about here.
You're leaking the energy.
Yeah.
Cool. You're expressing it. So for somebody that's very suppressed, that swing of the pendulum might be great for their growth journey. But what I've seen is if people are on one end of the pendulum, either super suppressed or super expressed, one is kind of caged and the other is kind of leaking. And you might kind of swing on that pendulum until you find a middle ground that feels like, oh, this is what it means to harness it and to hold it and to channel it and to honor it as sacred. Because when you do that, it opens up an entire world of sex that most people don't know exist. They don't know exist. And so, as I said, I've been single and largely celibate for years now. And that doesn't mean I haven't had highly erotic experiences. And I have had men tell me, what was that?
Yeah.
Like, what in the witchcraft did you just do? And say, like, you opened up a whole new world of sexual energy and sexuality that I didn't know existed. And it's in that sex becomes a pathway to God.
Beautiful.
And sex becomes an ascension tool. And you can use both the act of sex and working with your sexual energy, sure, to manifest and create, although that seems kind of 101 when the vastness of this energetic sexual world opens up. But you truly can merge with the divine in your body and with another person. And it is that longing for God, that longing for love, that longing with connection to source that I think we all inherently have. And we try to fill it with money or with food or with a partner or with success or with a house. But really what we're all longing for is that merging into oneness with the divine, because on a soul level, we know that's where we came from. So when you can find that and experience that through sex, either with yourself, with the divine, with a partner, that's when you realize, oh my God, society has completely painted a entry-level 101, like they've given us this one puzzle piece and it's so much more multidimensional. And it's the most spiritual experience I've ever had has been in erotic. I call it erotic transmission. My trance channeling state, I call erotic transmission. It looks like I'm making love to God. It's this and this, and it's coming through me, and you know, it's so alive. And I just feel so passionate about helping people connect to that within themselves and open that up in their love lives, because we are craving connection, community, to be seen, to be felt, to be heard, and to merge with the divine that we all are. And the most shamed, taboo thing is the most direct pathway to it.
Preach, sister. Come on now. So good. It's a lot of what Mary Magdalene talked about too, right?
My girl.
Your girl.
She's my girl.
She's my girl too. And what do? We slut shamed her, right?
Nothing infuriates me. I'm still working through that fury. There's layers. Yes. So, yeah. I'm like, she carried codes and we've just.
Yeah. So one of the things I talk a lot with other men about specifically is semen retention. because that's been a tool that's not taught or talked about enough that can be really powerful. It's something that I use and I practice in certain circumstances or occasions. But it's like, it's our, I mean, for both men and women, but men especially, it's like, it's our most primal instinct and urge. And so it's always something that I'm working to keep in check. I don't watch porn anymore. I gave that up a while ago. That's like that's like level one that that's really important, very difficult. It's not something that's talked about enough as well. And I really, really give kudos and bless the men that are standing out and talking about that, because it's connected to all the different things. It's connected to all the different things, addictions and everything. But I guess my question to you is what are some ways from a foundational level to experience that sense of erotic sensuality without having sex with another partner? If you're single, if you're celibate, if you're choosing not to have sex with somebody else, like, what are some of those ways that you can still fill your cup that you can practice yourself?
Right. I would say even with people in relationship, still do this within yourself first.
Beautiful.
It can be as simple as, well, I'll say two things. One, notice where you feel like you outsource your sexual energy, where you expect your partner to turn you on, or porn is a great one.
Right.
And a note on porn, because I think this is really important. Energetically, I see porn as a psychic implant.
Whoa. Okay, let's talk about that.
Hear me out.
I'm curious.
Hear me out. So the way that porn works, it hooks your brain and it really changes your body chemistry. It trains you to be sexually turned on by visual and audio stimulus. There's no emotional connection.
Right.
It trains your body to be turned on without a heart connection. And the way that we have these transcendental sexual experiences with ourselves or a partner is by running your sexual energy through the heart, through the entire body. The erotic, sexual is just the sexual organs. You can have sex without having an erotic experience.
Right.
And most people
most people do, right?
And most people do. That's what people know to be sex.
Yeah.
It's body on body. It's creating friction for a physical stimulus and a physical release.
Right.
There's no emotional connection there. That's where the magic happens. So you notice a lot of people will they'll be able to have an emotional connection with somebody, but then the sex life isn't really there. Or they can have a great sex life with somebody, but it's not really emotional. And there's this huge disconnect. And both men and women alike feel unfulfilled. And it's like you roll over at the end and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot with women who have sex with their partner in order to try to feel that closeness and that intimacy of that heart connection. But if the heart isn't open, the heart isn't open. And porn trains the body to only run your sexual energy from the mind around to the genitals.
Wow.
It bypasses the heart completely. It's a different energetic circuitry.
Yep.
So it is this implant in the collective because, as you said, we weren't taught about sex.
Right.
A lot of ways that young kids learn what sex looks like is through porn.
Right.
Because parents don't know how to talk about it. School certainly doesn't do anything.
Right.
So it's like we're seeking, what does this look like? I don't know what to do with my body and these feelings in my body. And we're delivered porn, which one isn't realistic. It's not what feels good for a lot of people. It's not emotionally fulfilling. Shows you nothing about energetics. It's just this physical thing. So I agree. And I've had so many clients that when they stop watching porn, their preferences change. What they're attracted to changes. And they have so much more clarity and focus. Same with semen retention. So much more clarity. So much more focus.
It's insane. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's different for men and women.
Yeah.
Because a woman, we're not losing seed.
Right. Yeah.
We are endless sources and vessels for pleasure.
Bless you.
I know. I know. And so we can orgasm all we want.
Right.
And now, men can orgasm too, but if you got to orgasm without ejaculating.
Yeah,
and
you have to separate that.
That is mastery level.
Yeah,
like that is self-mastery.
That is, and that's something, when I learned that, I had a guest on my podcast years ago, and he shared that like, most people, I didn't know this, that men, you can actually separate orgasm from ejaculation. I was like, what? Mind blown. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Literally. Did you say that on purpose? No. Come again? That's so funny. I love that.
That was great. That was really good.
That was great. And then that got me really deep down that rabbit hole of learn and then thinking like, wow, you're right. Like, do I want to be tossing my seed off and flushing it down the toilet? Like, is that a great use? Like, do I want to be using porn or stimulus to turn me on to then have a release? Like, that's an addiction. That's fast food. That's junk food. Like, I don't eat junk food in my life. Like, there's a corollary to that as well. Like, what if there's a different way of engaging with this? What if I'm looking at self-pleasure as a way of when I feel turned on or I feel that energy moving through me, and using that as my invitation versus habitual, this is the same time of day, or this is the night, this is the time where I will release, or I'll watch porn and I'll get that release. So it planted these seeds to like think about it differently, and then learning that like, yeah, through control and through like certain muscle development as well, and through breathing, you can actually separate orgasm from ejaculation. Yes. And it's like, it's changed my life entirely. It's massive.
I'm curious how, just a few ways that it's changed your life.
Yeah. Well, I would say, I mean, just in the relationship of understanding that like what we have, especially as men, it's like, it's sacred, and it's like, it's a discharge of our energy. And it's like, it's moving that energy. And so it just bringing that conscious awareness has changed my life, because it's like, if I feel that urge or that need of just like, I want to go watch porn, or I want to go masturbate, right? It's like, where's that coming from? And to just sit with that and breathe with that for a second. Okay, I'm noticing this feeling in my body, this sexual energy in my body. Like, let me sit with that just for a moment and just like breathe into that. Like, is there a message there for me? Like, what is that? You know, where's that coming from? And also like releasing any judgment of if it's like, if I end up going and doing that, like, okay, I don't need to have judgment or shame about that, but just first having some curiosity and then transmuting that. So what that looks like for me is like, I'll use it very specifically, the semen retention of not ejaculating, not masturbating, leading up towards certain things that I'm doing. So like when I'm in a book writing phase, for example, or I'm working on a big project, or I've got a big meeting coming up, I will purposefully and consciously like withhold, because it builds this energy. I mean, boxers do this, building their batch, right? It's like boxers do this before a big fight, because you beat testosterone, your clarity unlock, like it's unbelievable. And the first time that I really went for this, like I did give myself a month, and like that first week was so hard. It was like withdrawal. Yes. It was literal withdrawals. Yeah. But then like after the first week, it's like, it got so much easier. It's like, because then you stop thinking about it. It's like very quickly you can move through that first phase, and then it gets challenging as you get into towards some of the later weeks. But then I would notice like, okay, I have this like this energy that's present. Like, let me harness that. Let me go right. Or like, let me breathe into that. Or for some of the times when I was like, I want to be really regimented about this, and I would be like, okay, I'll give myself permission if I want to go pleasure myself, but I'm going to do a 90-second ice bath first.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. that'll shrink you real fast.
And then afterwards you're like,
yeah, after like, oh, I think I'm fine. Like, it was just a different release of energy. Or like, let me do 100 push-ups real quick. Let me use that energy to like knock out 100 push-ups real quick.
Yes.
So these are some of the ways, but I think, coming back to the point of our conversation is, as I've gone deeper into exploring my sexuality in these ways and understanding, it's like, that is sacred. Like, I don't want to just be certainly tossing that off into a tissue down the toilet, but I also don't want to be giving that to anybody. Exactly. Like, I don't want to be engaging sexually into that, because that's creation. Like that's some serious shit right there.
It's like, what are you seeding?
Right.
And what womb are you seeding it in? And is this a womb that you want to seed your creation in? Like, that's a lot of trust. Is it fertile soil?
Right.
Is there some weeding that needs to happen?
Yeah.
There's just a lot there. But to go back to your question of how to harness that, I think you gave great examples for men. I would say the same thing, because it is very different for men and women.
Yes.
For women, there's a big sensuality piece. And for both, it comes down to breath. Like, you hit the nail on the head. The quickest, most direct way to move energy is with your breath.
Mm-hmm.
It is so simple.
Mm-hmm.
But even just breathe, and both men and women can do this, just breathing into that source of energy within you. And I imagine like with the inhale, it gets brighter. And then with the exhale, it expands. And just breathing in to that source of sexual energy within you until you can start to feel yourself self-sourcing your energy. And then start to breathe it up. Breathe it up through your belly, up into your heart, up into your throat, up into your head, and then back down. And most people will notice, oh, I can get it up to here and I can't really move it past, like I feel tension here. Great. Keep breathing there. Let that life force energy start to penetrate whatever density you're holding there. Let it bring up a memory. Let it bring up an emotion. Let yourself have a somatic release, whatever that is, because all we're wanting to do is allow our life force to freely move through the entirety of the body of your center line. So that's such a simple practice. And it brings your awareness again from outside in to see, where is this able to flow? Where am I feeling sensation? A lot of women, it's the throat as well. Sense, and like kind of do this. So that's a simple one to just start circulating your own sexual energy.
Beautiful.
Life force energy. And it's great before a meeting, before a date, before a performance, to just fuel it's a battery, to battery yourself with your own energy.
So good. Yeah, because you can feel like you can really generate it and feel it like start to move and to build. So I like that. That gives a focus. So inhale, the light brightens, and then the exhale, it expands and move that up and down. And then you can imagine if you're able to practice that and to master that and to work with that energy, and then you enter into a partnership with someone else who also is able to do that, like that's magic.
Yes. Because that's where that transcendental sexual experience happens. When two partners both have their life force fully flowing, and it can battery between them. So the positive pole for the woman is the heart, and the negative pole is the genitals, and it's the opposite for men. The positive pole is the genitals, you penetrate,
right?
We receive,
right?
And then the heart, the woman gives, the man receives.
Oh, that's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Opposite.
Whoa.
And so that's, of course, our heart and sex have to be connected. We have to fully be able to flow that energy in our own bodies for both people to be able to cycle it. And that's the battery effect between two people. And that's how you can supercharge your light body, your physical body. That's how you can, your ka body. There we go. We're speaking the same language. And then you can get into this merging, and then it penetrates the mental field. The mental field just kind of dissolves, and then you're in this oneness.
Whoa, this is so fucking cool.
It's so fun.
Well, I love that. I mean, when I think of you think of masculine and feminine energy, you think masculine, penetrative, feminine, receiving, but I hadn't thought about the heart as the other part of that anchor, that battery of the positive or negative charge, and that makes so much sense. Right. It also makes sense as to why like men can get off very easily and women are usually unsatisfied. Yes. and that comes down to both part in that partnership and working for the man to receive from the heart. Yeah. And it's hard for a lot of men to open the heart. Definitely. And so that's where women can very easily kind of bypass their own true desires and try to get their heart connection desire met through a sexual experience, but that doesn't do it. Yeah. You have to be able to open your heart and create an emotional connection outside of sex. Right. Yeah. And this is like the craziest part of all of this is like the result of that creates life, like that's how you create a baby and life. Yes. Like, it makes so much sense when you stop and think about it from that lens. Right. But the thing is, and this I've had to wrestle with, you can create a baby without a heart connection. Right. And that's the elevation of consciousness or the leap in consciousness that we're in right now is we're no longer just creating from our primal desire. Yes. I consider primal desire just the sexual or the physical functioning. Exactly. We're now called to create as conscious creators through eros. Eros is heart and sex combined.
It's erotic creation, not just primal creation. So there's the sacred desire of the heart, the primal desire of the body, and it's the connection of the two that allows us to create for the greater good, because your heart desire attunes to other hearts.
Right.
It desires for the greater good. It considers the whole. Whereas your primal desire is a selfish desire, not in a bad way, but it's just self-serving. It's what my body wants, what my primal desire is. And that's the evolutionary leap that we're at right now, especially with our sexual consciousness, is to consciously create through Eros. And if you go back and look at like the last golden age in Greece or Egypt, they were highly erotic cultures. There were statues of naked men and women feeding grapes. They wrote love letters. Like Eros was alive and well in the culture, and we've lost that. And that's a big ingredient that's coming back so that we can create industries, revolutions, and empires through erotic creation.
Right. And how do we do that in a conscious way, in a God-centered way is the question.
Through the heart.
Through the heart. Yeah. And to me, that like, at least in Judaism, I think there's parallels between many religions with this and schools of thought, but the goal in Judaism is to bring divinity to the mundane. It's to bring holiness to the ordinary, right? And to find the holiness in the ordinary, that there's the spark of creation within every single one of us, and every single thing is a divine spark of creation. And it's to unlock that potential. And so to me, I think there's also a framework that I love, which is there's actually two souls in Judaism. We believe you have two souls within yourself. You have your Yitzhar Harav and your Yitzhar Tov, which is your soul, your divine soul, and then your animalistic soul. So we have, it's kind of like it's where the angel on one shoulder, devil on the other shoulder come from. That concept of like, you have this animalistic self, this vessel that we're in that needs to eat, that needs sleep, that needs certain things. And that's our animalistic soul, which has these desires and talk to us. And then we have our divine soul that also that comes from God. That's a co-creative part of God within us. And it's this constant like dance and sometimes battle between these two different things. And the goal is to spread and to bring that divine soul. But we need both, because you can't just be like, I'm going to sit and meditate and then like just starve myself to death. Like you need to, it's a big part, is being in your body. But to me, as you're having this conversation, I'm just thinking about like, it seems to me the ultimate goal would be to bring this consciousness and this heart into sacred sexuality, into the act of sex for creating human. And like that the vibrational impact of that could be massive.
And that's why, as we go through this leap, not only is sacred sexuality of utmost importance, because that's conscious creation, but also why so many sacred unions are coming together, and so many people feel called to sacred union.
Right.
That's not a standard partnership. Right. That's not old school marriage. Sacred union is a very specific technology of two souls coming together as partners and anchoring that union so that they can be a strong vessel for creation.
So how do you define sacred union? Like that?
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, anything else that... How would I define? See, I get a visual.
Yeah.
I see sacred union as two people who have done the inner work to vibrate their authentic soul frequency beneath the trauma, beneath the conditioning, now, are we ever perfect humans? Of course not. Right. But vibrating our unique frequency, and one anchors as the divine masculine, the other anchors as the divine feminine, and together they form a third entity, which is the union. So when I work with couples, I tell people, because it's usually women who come to me first, and they're like, I'd love to work with my partner too. I'm like, okay, but just know, we're actually now moving from working with one entity to three, because there's the man, the woman, and the Horus.
Right.
And it is a technology, just like we talked about the battery effect, so it's two people coming together who share a soul mission. And it's very mission oriented and anchoring divine love. So it's anchoring Christ consciousness, anchoring the divine feminine masculine, coming together as one and being a vessel of creation for God.
Beautiful. I love that. I mean, I hear that term a lot, sacred union.
Yeah.
I talk about that a lot as something I desire. So, but it's beautiful to hear that definition as you share it.
I'm glad you asked, because I hadn't really defined it
Yeah,
before. So now I know.
Makes sense. Now you know. There it is.
Yeah.
There's the definition. Wow. This is fascinating.
There's so much here.
Yeah.
You ask really good questions. There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, a lot to unpack.
It's cool to see how my energetic perspective of things aligns with some of the Judaism teachings. Totally. And it's just different language for similar things. It's just cool to see.
Same. And that's part of the reason why I've loved exploring and learning more about some of Jesus's teachings and Christianity as well. Like, because Jesus was a Jew, like, and it's like the same God, it's the same God that we're talking about here. There's a great song called "Same God." I don't know if you've heard that song. It's one of my favorite worship songs ever. Yeah, it's the same God, the same energy that we're talking about. And I think that I do think that Christianity does, at least in the ways that I have seen it or appreciated it through friends or through certain traditions, through music, like there is a really beautiful embodiment of that energy that is present, and I think is beautiful. And so I think, like, let's talk a little bit about this movement. I feel like because I feel like now, which is beautiful, is I've seen, and you've defended your thesis here very beautifully of how sexuality and erotic exploration actually can be the most holy thing and the most, and lead you towards God, and how that also can be something that actually makes you decide that you want to be celibate, or that you don't want to just go share that. So I love that. And I think that that's like a very key thesis, which you've wonderfully defended here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about like this movement that we're seeing, maybe on a macro perspective of what's going on in our world right now with our humanity, with our civilization, with our society. It's like, it feels like there's a lot of people that I'm picking up on. Like, a lot of people are moving back to God. I think a lot of people threw the baby out with the bathwater, like you said, which is beautifully said. It's like, this religion, bad, boom, throw it all out. But there's actually a lot of good. So I think a lot of people are coming back to a relationship with God. A lot of people, I'm having these conversations like almost every conversation I'm having comes back down to this.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think I'm also admitting that, and I'm like welcoming that in.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessively talking about it because I feel that call within. So there's people moving back towards religion, people moving back towards God. But then you also have people moving, it seems like, the other direction. It's like there's almost like two timelines, it feels like people are hopping onto. It's like there's two different realities that are forming within our planet right now. Like,
what's the other direction that you're seeing?
I think darkness and hate and like and contraction, confusion, lack of clarity, confusing. It's like at the end of times, and the Bible they say like people will be more like good will be right will be considered wrong, and wrong will be considered right. It's like we're seeing this play out a lot in our society, so in different ways. So identity crises, like So what do you see from your perspective with all of your experience within this macro trend that's happening?
Great question. Let's see. How do I see it right now? I do see the kind of the two different timelines. And it's like we get to choose. Like, which reality do you want to consent to? Which one do you want to attune to? Which one do you want to participate in? I think I really saw that starting with COVID. I used to do these like monthly energy forecasts. Sure. And before COVID hit, I didn't know what it meant, but I was like,
something's happening.
I see a splitting.
Wow.
There is a split. And I don't remember how I described it, but I went back and was like, holy shit, that was COVID. Like, totally. That was dead on. And we saw during COVID how two very different realities could exist in the same dimensional plane on planet Earth.
Right.
And I saw that in Austin. We're doing breath work and hugging. Yeah. And my mom sent me, I haven't owned a TV in over like 10 years.
Congratulations. Good for you.
My mom sent me a mask and was like, hey, honey, there's a pandemic and I think it came from bats and we have to be like 10 feet away from people and you have to wear a mask in public. And I was like, I'm sorry. What? Like, what are you talking about? And so we saw that then. And I think we're just seeing more and more splits happen to where there are several different realities that are existing in this one time-space reality, in this dimensional plane. And the planet is kind of at stake.
Yeah.
Because we're all here.
I feel that.
We're all
Yeah.
habitating it. And I think the path forward where everyone can thrive is the one where we recalibrate to the pace of nature. Humans have tried to create our own pace, our own seasons, our own cycles, our own timeline, all of these things that are out of alignment with the pace of nature. And we see what that's resulted in. And so it's kind of a reckoning right now. And I do think that's why so many people who are kind of on our wavelength feel this call.
Yes.
This call to their mission, this call to their person, this call to their power, this higher calling to create the new paradigm, the new world, the new normal, as these other ones inevitably kind of crumble because they're not sustainable. Right. There's only so long that these archaic systems, industries, infrastructures, ways of thinking, ways of being, ways of doing, like they're crumbling. Yeah. And they're kind of in a burning building right now. Yeah. And some people feel
especially
called.
With AI now too. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole other convo.
Yeah.
Some people feel really called to like rescue people from the burning building. Other people feel called to like be the bridge between like, hey, you're in a burning building. There's another way. Like, do you want to cross this bridge? And then other people, and I am in this camp, I'm here to build the new and help people connect to those intelligences, intuitive and erotic, to consciously create the new. And I think that's where so many people are feeling this call because time is of the essence and not like the world is going to end if you don't hop on it now. And maybe there's a splash of that. Yeah. You know, like we feel this internal almost time pressure to get the ball rolling because it's like we've prepared for this. Yeah. We've prepared for years for this, for lifetimes for this. We're living in prophesied times. Yeah. And it's really fucking cool. Yeah. And in my mind, and maybe this is just what I choose to believe, but I believe that we've already won. And I believe that like heaven on earth already exists. Yeah, and do you want to tap into that? Do you want that to be your reality? And can you unravel your fear consciousness, your scarcity, your lack, all of these things that keep you plugged into this other consensus reality? Well, as you unravel that, it's a lot easier to stay attuned to this heaven on earth reality that already exists. And we are just called to create it so it can spread on a larger scale.
Yeah. Oh, that feels really good.
I didn't know what was going to come out of my mouth, but that feels good. Even if it's delusional confidence, that's fine.
I agree.
I would rather create from delusional confidence.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Fine.
I feel so similarly, and it's beautiful. And I've been having more conversations with other leaders who feel similarly. And for me, this is part of my rebrand that I've done is because I felt that inner call because it was just like, it grabbed me of like, we're going to need strong leadership. Like we're going to need heart-centered leadership, strong leadership, not just like, oh, like strong leadership, but heart-centered and authentic leadership to be able to help usher us into this new era. Yeah. Like we need it. And it's us. And it's like, it's up to us. It's like, it's not, it's literally up to us. And that's the awakening or the call or the deeper mission that I feel like God has really been coming through strongly with me recently. Is just like, he's like, yo, I'm going to need you on this. Like, I'm going to need you on this. And like, you got to rally the boys and the girls and like get the troops and like get the squad together. Cause like time is of the essence.
Take up your post.
Yeah, exactly.
Take up your post. Yep. Like this was all planned.
Right.
There's a strategy involved. You might not cognitively know the other players, the other pieces. It doesn't matter. That inner call will put you exactly where you need to be with exactly the people you need to be with. And that's where that intuitive intelligence is so important because it is time to take up our post. And it's exciting.
It is. Yeah. It's like
and
I
love that you put strength in there because I think strength has kind of been misbranded.
Totally.
Especially with this toxic masculinity, whatever. Everything has its role. I get it. It had its place. Great. But the strength, the heart-centered strength is so important. So essential. It's such a beautiful call.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Especially with the masculine. Yeah. Especially with men. It's everything. And it's like, we're going to need really good, strong, heart-centered, authentic leadership to
Yeah.
get us into this next. And that starts with the self. It's like self-leadership.
Of course.
That's 101. And
Right.
I like you're saying, I mean, I felt that split too during COVID. It felt like it was like you have a certain population that's living in fear and certain population that's living in truth or love or abundance. And not to say that you can't be scared of certain things that are going on, but it was the first time I really saw just like, oh, there's forces that are trying to make us live at fear. Follow the money. Look where the money's going. It's like there's forces. It's clear as day. It's like there's clearly something going on here.
Yeah.
And I was I was shocked at how many people it felt like were just following in. But I was also equally as impressed and shocked at like how many people were also like, wait, hold up. Like you talked to a lot of people. It's like COVID woke up a lot of people.
It was a mass awakening.
It was a mass awakening. Yeah.
For
it was
sure.
a mass awakening for sure.
And it played a beautiful role in that way.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's like there's the fear, there's the scarcity, there's the lack, and that's a disempowered state to be in. And then there's the like, and I'm saying with you, it's like, it feels like the stakes are high, and at the same time, I'm not like, I agree. It's like, I feel like we've already won.
It's already
like,
done.
It's already done. And I'm not disillusioned by it. It's just, I'm motivated by it. It's just like, let's go. Like we get to be a part of this right now in our humanity.
This is the fun part.
This is the fun, you see.
Like, look at how many lifetimes we've had.
Yeah.
Of everything that led to this.
So true.
You know, the falls and the rises and the death and the persecution and the wars and the, you know, like, it's easy to think like, look around, we're living in the end of times.
Totally.
Look at history. Shit has went down, you know?
Yeah.
And so to now be at, it's like the Super Bowl. It's like the Super Bowl and we get to play in it and we already know that we won the Super Bowl. This is exciting.
It's so
where
true.
God is embodying in humans and like the divine is living on earth.
Yeah.
Fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah, we chose this time too for that reason.
Totally.
Like, we get to be alive right now.
Be here.
Yeah.
And participate in it.
Right. And we get to have the choice. We get to choose. We get to use our free will to choose love. That's beautiful. It's so powerful. God, you got me ready to run through a brick wall over
too.
here.
I'm like on fire.
Let's fucking go. Oh, yeah. What else is there? Yeah, I mean, we all have our own role to play in this, and you know, one of the big things I'm taking away from this conversation, it's funny, of course, how it works, but like on my way in to record today, like I felt it so clearly, like I was moved to emotion, like moved to tears as I was driving in, and of just like really feeling this inner call and really to bring God into the conversation was something that was really just like, nah, it's sure, you can talk about tactical leadership and all these things, but it comes down to this at the end of the day. It's kind of like my, you know, intuitive my version of your like intuitive coaching and leadership versus like the erotic side of things. And for me, that starting to really blossom to the point where it's like, it's unmistakable and unavoidable.
Right.
And so I want to thank you for leading the way, and by leading from that place that's scary and that that can be triggering for a lot of people, but not avoiding that, leading into that. And I think that's that's a big takeaway I have from this conversation is the permission slip to do the same, even though it can be scary, even though it will turn some people off, even though it will turn people away.
Yep.
But that's how you know you're onto something, I feel like.
Yes.
And I think that's the invitation that I want to share with everybody. If anybody's still listening at this point, bless you.
This is a good one. They're going to be hooked.
They're like, no, I don't want to end. Is that whatever that thing is, you know it, like that's your signature. That's your contribution. Like if we're playing in the Super Bowl, it's like, that's your position to play.
Exactly.
Like we're all like, cause I can't play the position that you're playing. You can't play the position I'm playing. I can't play the position that, you know, my friend over here is playing. It's like, we all play our unique positions, and together that's how we win.
Exactly.
That's how we play.
Exactly. And I think it's important to note, because this comes up for me too, is like comparison, especially when we feel like we have these big callings and we're like, okay, but how are they doing this? And how do that's a really quick way to get you out of your own lane. And the thing that makes you so unique, the thing that you are coded with, that is your natural genius, that lights you up, even if you don't understand why or how or monetizing it. Fuck that. If you are on purpose and you are radiating your unique essence and magnetizing those cooperative components and working with those other puzzle pieces, you are divinely supported. You don't have to worry about where's the money going to come from or how am I going to create this thing. There are so many other forces at play. Your only role is to show up in your role to the best of your ability and trust that everything else and everyone else is doing the same. And it's all coming together. And we've prayed for this.
Yeah.
And we get to watch it materialize now.
Beautiful. Great reminder. And you have enough evidence and lived experience to support that as well.
Absolutely.
And there's something about that impermanence of you can build up a revenue stream or income stream. You can see it go.
Let it go.
Let it go. And that's something I'm working through in this phase after letting go of the business and and now rebuilding but I love that perspective of that when you're in that alignment with that higher calling and your purpose and you're turned on.
Yes.
Turned on by life, that the bigger forces at play, God will lead you to where you're needed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've also started saying that of just what's something that turns you on recently? What are you turned on? What turns the pilot light on? And notice that the parallel to the sexual energy of what are you turned on? I think of Austin Powers and his mojo. It's it's your mojo, baby.
Exactly. But that's exactly it. And that's how you can see that turn on isn't just about sex.
Right.
That's how you're noticing your life force energy.
Yeah.
Turn on. That Eros, turn on. And whatever that is, that's also your GPS system.
Yeah.
All right, we want to go in that direction.
Yeah, that's so good. Beautiful. Wow. Is there anything else that feels present that you want to share right now as we bring this conversation to a closure?
I think that's it. I think I just want to thank you. Yeah, it's really refreshing to be in the company of a solid masculine presence who is in integrity. You're in truth. You're in God. You're harnessing your energy. You have a clear mission and you're focused and disciplined. I think you truly embody the divine masculine in such a beautiful, humble way that I think can be very attainable for people. So in that way, I feel like you're a really beautiful role model for men. So I just want to thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very, very sweet. I received that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, I appreciate this. This has been an awesome conversation. We're going to have you back for part 2.
Great.
We're going to have to
Fantastic.
have you back for part 2. And in the meantime, we'll have all of the links to anything you want to share in the show notes so people can check it out there. But thank you.
Thank you.